Tell you, when you're starting your business and you're starting to run your business, you really learn a lot about yourself and your habits and your mentality. And I had a lot of things where I like procrastinated and stuff like that, so it really opened my eyes to some of the habits that I had. Welcome to the Money Chisme podcast, a fun and safe space for personal finance, investing, and entrepreneurship tips where we get the chisme on all things money with sass and humor. I am your host, Violeta, a first-generation Mexican immigrant, a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and I am here to help you kick ass in the financial game. Each week, I not only bring you expert tips, but also share the financial freedom and entrepreneurship journeys from our own community because representation is important. So grab un cafecito or si quieres an adult beverage and let's get into this week's Money Chisme. Hola, welcome to another episode of the Money Chisme podcast. So since it's the new year, I've been really taking the time to, reflect on this past year. January is kind of that time frame, like December and January really are those time frames where you're kind of like reflecting over, what you did last year, doing your like vision boards and all that. And I've been doing the same. And while I'm resisting from beating myself too much on what I guess failures, but I don't really want to call them failures, more like shortfalls, I guess. I don't want to, beat myself over that, like the mistakes, like, I feel like I wasn't as consistent last year. I could have been creating more content and stuff like that. And there was a lot of things that prevented me from that. It was just like a huge learning curve, as being my first year, standing up Money Chisme. And, building it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. I mean, I had like this huge learning curve. Like I had to figure out what marketing was, like social media, like figuring out my voice, what I want this business to do and all of that, and figuring out like who I'm targeting, like what my target audience is and all that. And it was a lot. It was so much learning of not only that, but of myself as well. Like, let me tell you, when you're starting your business and you're starting to run your business, you really learn a lot about yourself and your habits and your mentality. And, I had a lot of things where I like procrastinated and stuff like that. So it really opened my eyes to some of the habits that I had. And I really had to make sure that, I held myself accountable for that. And one of the reasons I feel like I just kind of procrastinate and stuff like that, besides it being a habit, because I do work well under pressure. I do my best whenever it's like last minute and stuff like that. It's so weird. It always like works out, but it does stress me out. And I think one of the reasons I did that is because I have a 9-to-5 job. Currently, I'm still in the military, and that's a steady paycheck every 2 weeks. It's like clockwork. And I get that. And so I don't really feel the strain yet to like make sure that my business is really growing and all that. And, putting all my time and effort into creating Money Chisme because I know I'm not relying on income of it. So it kind of, I guess made me a little bit lazy in that sense. But at the same time, it's really a good thing as well because this gives me the opportunity to actually take my time with creating my business and learning all these things that I had to learn all last year and, build all these systems that I need and really just, take the time to build this business correctly. And although I did stress myself out with like, procrastinating to put out content because I'm like, all right, every Thursday I'm gonna do the podcast, and then I'm like, oh man, I was working and doing all these other things, and now it's like Wednesday and I have to record something and then edit it and put it out for Thursday. And I stress myself out a lot for no freaking reason. And the thing is, I do want to give myself grace, and that's one thing that I also want. If you are a content creator or someone that's creating a brand or a business or whatever it may be, that you do give yourself that grace, because with me, like, doing this podcast, making content, and learning everything as I went, to build this business. And not only that, but like still have my career, still do the real estate investing stuff, trying to plan my family, taking care of my stepson, and just I am also the first gen eldest daughter, so of course I'm taking care of this family and also making sure that my parents are going to be taken care of. So it's a lot, and I want to make sure that I still also give myself grace. And then it was also a struggle because, like, my husband gets out of the Navy this year, and then I plan to get out next year is when I'm able to. So then that's a whole bunch of like transition and making sure that we're preparing for him, because that's like a paycheck, and then figuring out what he can do and come up with the that difference. And then same thing with me next year. And honestly, I felt like 2023 was a blur. So with that being said, I want to dedicate this episode to all of the entrepreneurs out there, everybody that's out here, just winging it, figuring things out, trying to get, this business, their businesses, brand, or, just being, trying to be influencers or whatever it may be. I want to dedicate this episode to y'all to like show, like, what? We're out here trying to get it. So in this episode, I want to talk about the things I've learned over the past year, my first year, bringing up Money Chisme, and just things that I've seen and heard, and kind of like share my experience a little bit. And, some of these things hold small businesses back, and, really just take the time to learn from them. Okay, so the first mistake that some small businesses do is the inconsistent hours. And, this one kind of like popped up, obviously for myself as well. But it came to mind because I don't know if some of y'all are on TikTok. I'm always on TikTok. And it's like probably one of the reasons that, I have inconsistent hours per se, as far as like content creation and stuff like that. But anyways, there's this guy named Keith Lee on TikTok, and he does like food reviews. And he goes to like different cities, and usually he tries to go to the mom and pops, restaurants, and gives reviews and like promote them, like free promotion and all that. But there was like this big drama like a few weeks ago, I think, sometime last year, towards the end of last year. And he ended up going to like Atlanta, and he had like a horrible time because one, the customer service, sucked or whatever, I guess. But primarily was the inconsistent hours of these restaurants. Like they open whenever they felt like it. They were never open whenever they said they would be. Like, that was one of the things that really irritated him. And so there was a big old drama over that. Now, this is something that I have seen myself personally as well with small businesses that are around in my own community that, I get it. Most of us start, our own business because we want to, have ownership of our own time and be able to have the freedom to go, like, if we have kids, go to their events and stuff like that, or just have more time to ourselves and all that. And that's great. But what people fail to realize at the beginning is you're putting in a lot of work and you're putting in a lot of time. And one of the things that you have to make sure is that you are being consistent in your business because you are barely starting off. And so here there was like there was one restaurant, and then there's like another like kids clubhouse thing, which I will talk more about it later. And the problem was that they were closing like randomly and inconsistently, having these hours. You say you're open from like 9 to 5, but then people would go and you would be closed, or you'd be closing early, or whatever it may be. Because I get it, you weren't getting a lot of customers and stuff like that, but that's also putting off customers that are, planning these things, maybe are planning to take your kids. Like, for example, this one was the clubhouse. It's like you're planning to do like a play date to take the kids, but now it's closed. So it makes it hard for the community to support you when you're very inconsistent with your hours, and it really caused this business to struggle even more than what it was already. And I get it, because it does, like we're in California and this was like the summertime, so like they didn't want to like pay for the AC when they're not getting customers and all that stuff. And I get that, but like when you're starting off your business, you really need to be consistent about these things, about your hours, about your product and all that stuff. And, you should take that into account when you're creating a business and starting a business, that, at the beginning, you're not really going to get a lot of sales. As people start like knowing who you are and stuff like that, you start off a restaurant, people are starting to get word of mouth. People may want to, you got to do a lot of things. And at the beginning, you're going to go negative, which is one of the reasons they'll say that it takes like at least a minimum 5 years before you actually start making a profit in your business, is because a lot of startup costs at the beginning. Now, this can be the case también with those that have online businesses and, like our content creators, and like me, like I'm going to raise my hand right here. I'm also guilty of this, that I have inconsistent hours in the form that I am inconsistent in showing up in social media and like YouTube and stuff like that. And, it's the same thing, same concept, is inconsistent hours. And it's something that, I really have to take accountability, right? And, take steps towards being more consistent. And I think I've come up with a better system and kind of a better schedule now to hopefully, nip that in the butt, but also creating systems to allow me to, delegate some stuff and be able to, do have that spare time and have more time to create content, all that stuff. Because that was one of the issues last year, was that, I was doing everything myself. I was doing the editing, sending out the emails for guests, figuring out content and all this stuff, and then at the same time was trying to create my course. And it was a lot of stuff that I was doing for myself, and I had zero systems and zero schedules, zero time management, nothing. And it was just a complete mess last year, that now this year I've taken, like towards the end of last year, I already had started taking steps to create systems. I started, training my sister to help me out and stuff like that. So I'm taking that into this new year. I have a better schedule to hopefully keep me on track and help me stay consistent in showing up on social media. Because when you don't have these things, you don't have good time management, you don't have systems in place, then you have nothing to cover down for you when you do want to take that time off, you want to take that vacation, you want to go to your sons or daughters or whatever, like, I don't know, ballet lesson or whatever it may be, without, setting systems or hiring people, delegating stuff out, you really mess yourself up. And this is one of the things that Joseph from Life the Plant Way, I think it's episode 30, I believe. I'll link it down in the show notes, in the description, whatever. And, he goes into the importance of these systems to ensure that you can own your time. So really, with inconsistent hours, not showing up, whatever, you make it hard for people to support you because you're not available to support. All right. So mistake number 2 that I had to learn last year, and that a lot of small businesses fail to do as well at the beginning. Eventually you kind of figure it out, because then you realize that you haven't been doing this, and that's one mistake that you're doing. And that is, not doing the proper market research and, figuring out, identifying your target audience. And again, I am raising my hand because I was guilty of this last year. And honestly, I probably should leave my hand off for all these mistakes that I'm talking about, because this was me all last year. And I'm still working on this and making sure that, I do my market research and all that. Anyway, so back to the kids clubhouse that I was talking about in mistake number 1. On top of the inconsistent hours that they had, they also failed to do the proper market research on top of like other things, because they bought this business with kind of on a whim, and because they're the second owner of this business, and they bought it on a whim, and didn't do their due diligence, but that's another topic. But really, they failed to, in part of doing that due diligence was doing the market research to figure out your target customer. Because honestly, I mean, it's a cool idea having a little clubhouse for kids and all that, but here where I am, most of us have teenagers, including myself. My stepson is about to be 14 next month. And this clubhouse caters to like toddlers up to I think 9 years old or 11 years old, I believe it was. The hours are from like, I think it was like 9 to 5 or something like that, Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays, Sundays, I think they were open for maybe 5 hours, I believe. Now, the demographics of our population of where I live, it's like, the kids are like around 5% of the population for that age group. And the thing is, their hours are from 9 to 5, which means that Monday through Friday, any kids that are school age, which is basically 5 through the 11 years old that I believe they had targeted, they're in school. So during that day, like, you're not going to have kids coming in unless they're babies. And with the demographics being already like, I think it was like 5-10%, I forget which one it was. Like, you already have a very small market, and then you knock out more of that market. And so you really like have maybe 2-3% of the population of customers that, on top of that, like, who's going to go take them? Because a lot of us, we work during those times as well. So needless to say, they were struggling, and, it was hard because I would see them, like Facebook, we have the community page and stuff like that, and I see it all the time. But yeah, they were set to close in December. Luckily, the community ended up kind of rallying for them towards the end. And so far, they've been able to just remain open because they have made a few changes. They're adding more stuff. And now they're being a little bit more creative, like just scheduling for parties that you have to kind of make appointments and stuff like that. So she already knows who's coming and if to stay open or not or whatever. So hopefully it works out for them. But the problem is that as every time that they posted there, like, the community is like, yo, we need more things for teenagers to do. Like, none of us have like young kids anymore. You have very little people that have like infants and people that can actually go support your business during those time frames. Like, it's hard. And so we'll see what happens for them this year. Hopefully they, make a few shifts and changes and stuff like that to where maybe I could bring my stepson to go play video games or something and find kids to play with. All right. So my next mistake that I did last year, that I kind of started fixing it towards the end of the year, and I kind of already touched up on it at the beginning, was not delegating. I did everything myself. And I know a lot of small businesses that do this because, this is our business. We want to do this. Like, this is like, it's very hard, especially for me. I have to control everything, and it's very stressful. And it's one of the reasons, like, my anxiety is so high all the time, is the need to control a lot of things. And especially with Money Chisme and my business and my brand, like, I want to do all these things and have this control. So I know lots of other business have the same mindset that this is your baby, you're creating your business, this is going to be your livelihood, you're going to support your family with this or whatever, and get financial freedom, build wealth through this. And so it's going to be hard to let go and to delegate. But this is what can prevent a small business from growing, and just you stay small because the business is only going to grow as big as how much time you have to give that business. And this is one of the mistakes I did, was that, I kept myself from really growing, on social media and stuff like that, because I did everything myself. And because of that, I burned myself out. I got tired. I didn't want to do it. Sometimes I just want to like relax after work, but no, I have to, record a video or a TikTok or whatever. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm burnt out. I'm going to take the time off today. And then what results is then the next day I didn't post or whatever, or I didn't get this done in time. And so that ended up just kind of hindering my growth. So this time I'm delegating. Like I said earlier, I am teaching my sister how to, do a lot of things for me, kind of like the admin side. I am currently searching for someone to edit the videos for me, especially the podcast, because the podcast interviews, that's what takes me so long. Videos, recording myself, it's a little bit easier because I could stop and pause and whatever. But I'm still going to, find someone to send these videos and they do that. So then I could focus on growing my business, because as a business owner, that's your job. Your job is to grow the business. It's not to do all these little things or whatever. Now, again, if that's what you like to do, then delegate something else that you don't like to do. And my last mistake that I did last year that I'm trying to fix this year, it's kind of something that's kind of iffy for me, and that is the marketing and like selling your stuff and being more active in your marketing and advertising. And I don't know if that applies for other small businesses. I'm sure it does. I see it sometimes, and I think it's just a mindset of kind of worrying that you're coming off too salesy. And I know I had that issue last year. I'm hoping to not do the same thing this year. And, my mindset was like, as I'm putting out content, which by the way, I wasn't consistent anyways, so that wasn't going to work. And, but the idea for me was, okay, I'm going to be putting out content and making this, and people are going to go into my Linktree or whatever. Well, not Linktree because I'm not using Linktree, but they'll go into my links page and, they'll see the products that I have. And if they're interested, they'll go for it, right? The problem is that, a lot of people don't do that. And so you really have to make an effort to also promote the products that you have. And so that's one of the things that I was kind of worried about last year, that I don't want to come off like as salesy, as I'm pushy or whatever. But at the same time, I have to let you know that these products, that my course is available, that this is available, or this freebie is available. And, I have to promote and market that. And I know it's something that I have to kind of like work through that mindset to overcome the idea that I'm going to be just too pushy, too salesy or whatever, because, it's a balance. You do have to balance, constantly just promoting everything and whatever, but, promote it when applicable. If I'm talking about something about real estate investing, then okay, push the course or whatever. But I'm not going to push the course if I'm just talking about, me going out to feed the chickens, kind of like just a day in my life type deal. I'm not going to be pushing it there, and that's pushy, obviously. And so just learning that balance and to overcome that mindset. But something that goes along with that is the mistake of not knowing how to market and how to promote your products and stuff like that. And I was guilty of that. Like, I don't know how to market these things. I just think that, I thought that you could just post it and people be like, okay, yeah, I'll buy it, whatever, or I'll take the course, or I'll do this or whatever. And that's not the case. You really, depending on the type of product or thing that you're selling, service, you really have to market it a certain way. And so last year, as I was creating my course and all that stuff, I didn't think of the importance of that or whatever. I was like, okay, I put more time and effort in actually creating the product or course, because that's what's important to me and everything like that. But I'm really sucky at telling you about the course or what is going to do and stuff like that. And that's part of the marketing part, and that's sometimes one of the mistakes that small businesses do, is they don't understand the importance of marketing effectively. So this year I want to take more time into doing these things properly, and of course planning it out, because I feel like that was one of my downfalls as well, was that I wasn't planning out my marketing. It was like, oh, I'll launch it this day and then I'm just going to do whatever. I just really need to put my ass in gear and do it properly this time. Promote when, applicable, not just like whenever, every day and pushy and whatever, because people are going to get annoyed by that, and just finding that balance. But I have to be comfortable with selling. And another thing that, goes hand in hand with marketing is the advertising part of it is, like creating Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever, or TikTok ads. And, at first it's kind of like, do I want to spend the money on there? Like I could, just make a TikTok myself or post on Instagram or whatever. And that's, free advertisement. And yes and no, but you also want to put, money aside to actually make an ad. This is also a mindset shift for me because at the end of the day, I know I was taking I went to a workshop for like a tax strategy workshop. I think oh my God, I can't remember who was, hosting that workshop, but I'll put it once I figure it out in the description if you're interested. But she was talking about the taxes are going to be taken out, but advertising can be deducted or whatever. And so you might as well use that money for yourself to promote your business and make, more revenue or whatever than just sending it off to Uncle Sam. Because either way, that money is going to be out of your pocket. So you might as well invest it in your business. And so just that mindset shift is like, okay, so I need to start advertising this year as well. So that will be one goal, is to maybe do one maybe second quarter and maybe one on the last quarter or whatever, and kind of, test out stuff, because I might as well spend the money and promote my business rather than just spending it on taxes. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and share this episode so others can also find this podcast. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias listed in the show notes below, where you can also find resources to help you in your financial journey. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, you can find that information in the show notes. Other than that, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.